He was the filthy rich, ridiculously evil side character in a cheesy romance novel. His only purpose was to use his immense fortune to keep the female lead tied to him, separating her from her one true love. But here comes the plot twist. The female lead has just reincarnated, and believe it or not, so has he. But this time around, his brain is actually working. He had just pulled out his limitless black card, about to casually pay for Khlo's college tuition when things changed. The sweet teenager suddenly turned ice cold. Golden text began scrolling across his vision. It looked just like a chaotic live chat stream. A message appeared. A female lead has responded. She's back at the starting point. Now she can finally fix all her past mistakes. She can finally be with her childhood sweetheart, if only it weren't for that rich villain. If his stinking money hadn't gotten in the way, they would have had a lifetime of happiness. He looked up, and right there was Khlo's freezing cold glare. But the instant her gaze landed on her childhood love, her eyes turned red and filled with tears. Wow, the female lead really did come back from the future. She was back in her 18-year-old body, penniless, with absolutely nothing to her name. As she stood just a bit closer to him, he could sense a massive change. Her entire aura was different. It was a specific, arrogant kind of elegance. The kind you only get from burning through tons of cash for years. There was no way that vibe belonged to some innocent, struggling student. She looked at the black card in his hand with pure disgust. Her voice was as cold as ice. I told you I can handle my own tuition. I don't need you. Stop using your money to trample on my dignity. After that dramatic line, she walked right past him, diving straight into the arms of another guy. That guy was Ethan, who glared back at him like he was some kind of supervillain. Her fingers dug deep into his shirt, holding on like he was a treasure she had finally found. "Ethan," she cried, "after everything I have been through, I finally get it. The person I love most in this entire world is you." A gasp rippled through the room. The golden text floating before his eyes exploded into an absolute frenzy. Yes, queen behavior. First lesson of reincarnation. Confess to your man immediately. Exactly. No more waiting around. That evil rich guy is totally shocked right now. In her last life, she only took the black card and dated him for the tuition money. But now that she's been reborn, not even all his money will sway her. He rubbed his eyes, staring at the floating chat that was spelling everything out. So that meant he was the villainous second male lead they were all talking about. The arrogant rich kid who literally bought his way into a relationship. The Khlo standing before him had already lived an entire lifetime. Back then, the moment she walked into college, he fell for her instantly. Knowing she couldn't afford the tuition, he eagerly offered up his black card. He promised to cover all her expenses for 4 years straight in exchange for one thing. She had to be his girlfriend. Khlo hesitated for a long, long time, but finally. She accepted the card in total humiliation, burying her crush for her true love. Deep in her heart, she had blamed him for tearing her and Ethan apart. She hated him for being an arrogant rich boy who had no idea how to cherish people. With her insecurities and sensitivity, she constantly felt worthless in the relationship. She believed she had lost all her dignity in that relationship. And yet, she adapted perfectly to the luxurious lifestyle of the ultra-rich. And she absolutely refused to let go of him for 2 entire years. But after graduation, news of Ethan's wedding arrived and her suppressed true love. It exploded. Dressed in her own wedding gown, burning with pure desperation, she drove like a maniac to go crash his wedding. The result was a disaster. She got distracted, smashed into a truck, and died right on the spot. But now, having reincarnated, her very first move was to confess the love she never got to express in her past life. And our main character, he just smirked. The commenters in the chat were right about one thing: he is incredibly arrogant. According to them, Khlo took huge amounts of his money. After they graduated, he even used his connections to open a company for her, pulling her into high society. If he's paying for all of that, shouldn't she treat him like a king, be a little more obedient? Isn't that the bare minimum? Did she really expect him to crown her empress, serve her breakfast in bed, and tiptoe around her? Please. He let out a cold laugh, turned around gracefully, and tossed the black card straight to a random stunning girl who was just walking past. This was right after Chloe's big love confession. He smoothly turned to the new girl. The person he wanted to give this to was clearly her. "Hi, cutie, want to be my girlfriend?" The live chat instantly lost its mind. Wait, what? Are we seeing things? Why would he give the black card to someone else? It's useless. The villain only has the female light in his heart. He is just playing hard to get. Our female lead would never fall for such a trap. K.H. Lo's entire body went completely stiff. Moments after her confession, her eyes, once filled with absolute certainty, were now swirling with pure disbelief and panic. It seems she hadn't quite realized the storyline had already gone completely off the rails. With her true love right there. The trauma from her recent death and the joy of rebirth scrambled her brain, leaving her no time to even process it. He enthusiastically invited the beautiful girl who caught his black card out to eat. It was the beginning of the semester, so he didn't recognize many faces. As for Chloe, he'd only heard classmates whispering that she couldn't scrape together enough money for tuition. So his rich boy syndrome kicked in, and he pulled out the card to ask her out. Honestly, her innocent damsel in distress face was exactly his type, which made him act impulsively. Maybe in his past life, he genuinely loved K.H. Lo. But in this life, that romance was crushed before it even had a chance to bloom. He has an insane amount of money. He's the sole heir of the Sebastian family empire, the wealthiest family around. He has never suffered a single day in his life. Why on earth would he get hung up on just one girl? Dating is just dating, and besides, the girl currently holding his card is just as pretty, maybe even more so. He picked the most absurdly expensive restaurant right near the campus. He glanced at the menu, frowned, and then tossed it to the waiter. "Just bring out all your signature dishes, one of each." The waiter practically skipped away with pure joy. Suddenly, the restaurant door swung open, getting everyone's attention. He turned his head. It was the reincarnated female lead, walking in arm with her desperately beloved childhood sweetheart. He had to admit, all that money in the past life had trained K.H. Lo well. From her posture to her dining etiquette, she was flawless, radiating the aura of a high society lady. Every so often, she'd shoot glares in his direction, her eyes brimming with poorly hidden contempt and annoyance. She was 100% convinced he followed her here to harass her. Absolutely certain he couldn't let her go. This date was probably just a cheap trick to make her jealous. Chloe straightened her back, elegantly ordered 7 or 8 signature dishes, and then stared deep into Ethan's eyes. "The food here is just okay, we'll bear with it. When I have time, I will take you for the most premium ingredients, flown in fresh daily. And buy you this season's latest designer clothes." Ethan looked like he just won the lottery right then and there. He was so happy he almost passed out. He shot our main character a smug look and raised his voice. "Chloe, today is our first official day. I have a gift I prepared for you a very long time ago." He looked so proud of himself, but the floating chat bubbles told the real story. Chloe and Ethan were childhood sweethearts, just waiting until they got into the same college to make things official. When our hero pulled out the black card, Ethan had gritted his teeth, looking at him like he was a homewrecker. Hold on. In his past life, when Chloe agreed to be his girlfriend, did she even mention Ethan existed? Nope. Ethan then pulled out a shabby little box. Chloe's face lit up with pure excitement, and the chat went wild. "Oh my God, the first gift after reincarnation. So incredibly sweet. This is moving too fast. I can't keep up. What's in the box?" Sebastian gave her $1 million necklace before. The male lead may be broke, but his gifts are heartfelt. The box landed in her palm. It felt like it weighed nothing. Full of anticipation, Chloe opened it, Inside lay a ring woven from literal weeds. Ethan spoke with passion. Chloe, I spent all summer weaving this grass ring. I was waiting for us to get into college so I could finally give it to you. Every blade of grass represents me saying, I love you, do you like it? The hyperactive chat box suddenly went completely silent. If he didn't know Chloe had reincarnated, he might have thought she would actually love it. For an 18-year-old girl, it's a priceless token of innocent love. But beneath that youthful face was the soul of a 24-year-old woman. A woman who ate caviar like oatmeal and treated diamonds like loose change. Just a few hours before her death, that same Chloe was driving a Maybach from his garage. The contrast between a premium leather steering wheel and a scratchy weed ring must have been a huge reality check. He smirked, reaching into his own pocket to pull out a dazzling diamond necklace. A new piece he had casually bought while walking past a luxury boutique earlier that day. Since the beautiful girl across from him was now officially his girlfriend, he couldn't be cheap. He gently slid the velvet box toward her. Babe, today is our first official day together. Here's a little welcome gift for you. The chat went insane. No way. Wasn't that the necklace given to the female lead in the past life? Why is he giving it to some random extra? Trust me. He's just trying to make the female lead jealous. This act won't last long. Ethan was panicking internally as the diamond sparkled with a blinding light. Chloe, still reeling from the shock of the black card, was hit by another wave. A surge of disbelief. Her hands trembled as she reached for the necklace, only to be stopped by a loud shout from Chloe herself. Don't touch that, that is clearly mine. She snapped her mouth shut before she could finish. Our hero knew exactly what she nearly said. In her past life, she wore that necklace for 6 long years. She adored it. Every night she would carefully take it off, wipe it clean, and place it in its box. But this was a different lifetime. Now that she had her precious sweetheart by her side, she had no interest in such vulgar material things, right? Ethan's face darkened as he glared at our hero. So what if he had money, a symbol of capitalism, a generic necklace with zero creativity? How could it compare to something he made with his own 2 hands? Chloe finally snapped back to reality, forcing a painful, stiff smile onto her face. You're absolutely right, Ethan. She tried to pull herself together, picking up her chopsticks to feed her beloved boyfriend some fish. Suddenly, a phone began to ring, a cheap knockoff with a terrible buzzing speaker. Even from a distance, our hero could hear it perfectly. An icy female voice came through the phone. Miss Chloe, your mother's hospital bills are overdue. You need to make a payment immediately. Chloe's face instantly drained of all color. It was then that our protagonist suddenly remembered. The female lead's mom was critically ill and needed money for surgery. He recalled how in his past life, he just threw $1 million at the hospital. And the surgery went perfectly. He couldn't let himself use her mom to force her again. He had to leave her alone this time. He then remembered that before he pulled out the black card, some classmates had been gossiping about Chloe. They said her mom had cancer, plunging the family into massive debt. He quickly looked at Violet. Hey, no one in your family is critically ill, right? And no, not at all, she stammered. Chloe stood up, pale as a ghost, and ready to rush to the hospital, but the waiter stopped her. Excuse me, miss, you haven't paid the bill yet. A few stifled giggles could be heard. In her past life, she had relied on the Sebastian family name, no matter which high-end restaurant she entered. The owners would practically bow, saying, "No rush on the bill, Miss Chloe. We'll just put it on your tab." She'd been reborn for less than a day and clearly hadn't adjusted her habits. The waiter printed out the receipt. $1,280. In her past life, that wouldn't cover half a bottle of the wine she usually drank. Chloe instinctively reached into her pocket. When her fingers found only empty air, she jolted, breaking into a cold sweat. That's right, she was 18 again, young, naive, and totally broke. Let alone $1,280, she probably didn't even have $80. The waiter maintained a smile. Chloe awkwardly turned to Ethan. Ethan, could you front the bill? I'll pay you back later, but Ethan immediately became defensive. Chloe, my monthly allowance is only $15, this one meal. Is $1,280, how am I supposed to survive the month? She replied. Don't worry, I have a way to make money. What way? Plus, you said you were treating. Why am I paying? Ethan grumbled, refusing to take out his wallet. This new couple, who confessed less than an hour ago, just hit their first romantic roadblock. He casually handed his card over to the waiter to pay for his table. Chloe immediately turned her head away in disgust, as if expecting something else entirely. She expected him to leap over and cling to her like a leech. Having reincarnated, she clearly wanted absolutely nothing to do with an arrogant rich boy like him. In her eyes, he had humiliated her with money. Her voice was filled with a deep, seething hatred. I've told you so many times, stay away from me. I hate how clingy you are, and I hate you trying to step between me and Ethan. Neither I nor my mother need your filthy money. He was honestly amazed by her sheer audacity. Sure, according to the chat, he loved her to death in the past life, but in this life. They hadn't even dated for a single day. The chat popped up right on cue. Wait. When he heard she couldn't pay tuition, he just took out the card. Before he could even ask her to be his girlfriend, she already confessed to Ethan. They literally haven't even had a conversation. The one who hated him in the past life was her, but the one who couldn't detach from that past was also her. He let out a sarcastic chuckle, calling the waiter over just to pay his own bill. Are you hallucinating, Chloe? Why are you so obsessed with the idea that I'm chasing you? K.H. Lowe's face turned stark white. Only then did the realization finally hit her. In this lifetime, they were nothing more than strangers. The 6 years of entanglement had not happened yet. Realizing this, she stumbled back a step. The chat panicked again. What's going on? Why isn't the villain throwing money to cure her mom? If he doesn't pay, where is she going to get that kind of cash? He knew it all. Her mom was the only person who ever comforted her during those 6 years of humiliation. Reading the comments scrolling by, his face darkened. They called him throwing money at her for 6 years. A life of humiliation, a traumatic memory from his past life. After he paid to save her mother, what did he get in return? The mother and daughter scheming behind his back. Chloe, men are unreliable. Once you marry into the Sebastian family, secure the bag. Don't let that Sebastian boy have a single dime to his name. You're beautiful and educated. Boys are lining up for you. If the Sebastian family doesn't give us an $8 million dowry, we are not agreeing to the wedding. And K.H. Lowe had just nodded, humiliated. Too bad the massive Sebastian family fortune wasn't something an outsider like her could just casually grab. All she ever got was the pocket change he let slip through his fingers. If she was good, she got a little. If she threw a tantrum, she got nothing. He might be a spoiled rich kid, but he was not stupid enough to hand his family's entire legacy over to a poor little white lotus from the slums. When it came to the Sebastian wealth, Chloe was both insatiably greedy and utterly powerless. Violet couldn't hold back anymore. K.H. Lowe, you're obviously the one obsessing over Sebastian. He doesn't even care about you. Yet you're acting like you're being oppressed and humiliated. It's hilarious. K.H. Lowe's expression turned vicious. A country bumpkin like you thinks you have the right to speak to me in that tone. Do you even know who I am? Her voice carried an arrogant edge, a byproduct of being pampered with his wealth in her past life. After he opened a company for her, everyone sucked up to her, calling her CEO Chloe. She was buying her own hype. But she just hadn't realized the clothes she was wearing were washed out and completely threadbare. They looked far worse than Violet's. Sebastian raised an eyebrow and clapped slowly. He was thinking, my girl makes a great point. Meanwhile, Violet looked right at him, playing the victim perfectly. He scanned her outfit. It was normal. A little cheap, sure. She did look a bit like a country bumpkin. He frowned. Time to put on his best extravagant young master act. He wouldn't even wear clothes this cheap for free, he declared. Violet, we are going to the luxury mall right this second. And we are not leaving those doors until we spend at least 100 grand and carry out massive shopping bags. Violet, however, was still in a state of absolute shock. Her brain had pretty much checked out. He lazily lit a figurative cigarette. His new girlfriend obviously needed to wear the best. As for the money he wasted on Chloe before, this life she wasn't getting a single penny. The holographic chat was exploding, discussing Chloe's misery. She was getting roasted over her financial stress, tuition, living costs, and her mother's hospital bills. Her only regret in her past life was missing her chance with Ethan. Well, congratulations. By fixing that one regret, she unlocked 20 new ones. Arriving at the dorms, he cheerfully read the chat. Girl, stop chasing the villain. You'll get trapped by him for years. Just go enjoy your sweet romance with the main lead. Poor female lead. Does this mean she'll have to go back to the villain? Who can even stand that guy's awful temper? Even after reincarnating, Minkai still can't escape his grasp. Reading the comments, he arrived at the dorms. And sure enough, Chloe's lonely, proud silhouette was waiting by the entrance. The second she saw him, she forced a tragic smile. Acting like she was accepting a dark fate. Sebastian, I lost. I still can't escape your obsession. Fine, just give me the black card and tone down your arrogant temper. I'll agree to be your girlfriend. As she spoke, her shoulders trembled just slightly, as if she were making the ultimate sacrifice, granting him some enormous favor. Her face was a mask of deep humiliation and shame. Wow, he thought, her dignity sure is pricey. And she really thinks she can trade it for my limitless black card. He laughed so hard he almost got a karma penalty. He'd never seen someone beg for help with such a massive ego. He couldn't help himself. Excuse me, Miss Chloe, do we even know each other? Chloe let out a hollow laugh. Sebastian, nobody understands you better than I do. Do you really think playing hard to get is going to change my mind about you? Look, just give me the card. My mom is waiting in the hospital. She spoke with absolute confidence, totally convinced he would cater to her every whim. Like in their past life, he stayed with her for 6 years. If not for love, he wouldn't have lasted that long. She'd seen him crazy for her. Always flaunting their relationship with her as the one being pampered, she'd always felt invincible. Her mom's hospital bills couldn't be delayed. That's when Violet stepped in front of him, effortlessly shattering Chloe's illusions. When exactly did Mr. Sebastian ever ask you to be his girlfriend? That last line struck Chloe like a bolt of lightning. She froze, stunned for a long, long time. Then it hits her, a memory of the very first thing she did after returning. Confessing to Ethan, but he'd never actually said the words, "Be my girlfriend." That toxic relationship she remembered, it literally never happened this time, but Khlo quickly shook her head, trying to shut down the memories. Those 6 years were burned into her soul. How could he possibly think I didn't love him? She let out a heavy sigh, her voice thick with pure, unfiltered exhaustion. Fine, Sebastian, I get it. Me confessing to Ethan made you angry, but my mom can't wait anymore. Give me the card and we'll just call it even. Seeing Khlo looking so defeated and ready to give in, the chat went wild. Total panic. Why was she getting involved with the villain all over again? Was she really starting another 6 years of pain? Then again, hold on. Without the villain's money, she's just a broke college kid, even if she wanted. To start a business, she has zero capital. Where would that money come from? Sebastian glanced at Chloe, his answer aimed at both her and the frantic chat. No money, figure it out, or maybe post an ad and see who's willing to pay. A premium for a girlfriend. His words absolutely shattered her pride for a whole month. She vanished completely, but he clearly remembers the day she finally stormed off. She left grinding her teeth. You've never fixed that arrogant rich boy temper. You are bossy and unreasonable. As your punishment, you can just suffer alone. Don't even dream of seeing my face for the next month. The reward was so sudden. He honestly thought he was dreaming, at a huge university, bumping into someone. from a totally different major is practically impossible, with Chloe out of the picture. He and Violet started spending a lot more time together. She would quietly wait outside his dorm to walk to class, and even volunteered to go get hot water or buy meals. His roommate Percy, the ultimate bro, jumped right in. "Young master, young madam, please just focus on your romance. You can leave all the heavy lifting to me." Percy was an orphan who fought his way into college. On the first day, Sebastian offered him $200. Every single time he fetched water and bought him food, he excitedly called him dad. Right on the spot. For 3 days, Percy aggressively took over every single chore. Sebastian had basically forgotten about Chloe, but the chat would give occasional updates, broadcasting live reports on her struggle for survival. She was running all over town, trying to borrow money to plug the endless holes in her finances. But really, how many rich college students are there? It was a useless drop in the bucket. She even had to rely on Ethan for meals, the true love couple from before. Now spent every day together, slowly cracking under the constant pressure to make money. Chloe, who had never worked a day in her life, was forced into a part-time job. He thought he would never see her again, but then he took Violet to the campus cafeteria and they ran straight into her. He only ate there on weekends. Chloe's part-time job gave her meals from Monday through Friday, and she only stayed on campus weekends. They were like two parallel lines. Lines never meant to cross, but this weekend a miracle happened. Instead of working her job, Khlo was sitting stiffly in the cafeteria. Her whole aura had shifted again. Right after she reincarnated, she still carried that air of expensive elegance. Now she just looked exhausted, anxious, and utterly defeated, the weight of the world on her shoulders. Two girls walked in holding hands, just in time to see Ethan place a food tray in front of Chloe with a huge smile. "I managed to grab the best dish today," he said, pushing the tray forward. Try it, but his best dish was just a $7 cafeteria combo. A flash of pure disgust instantly flickered across Chloe's face. The chat went absolutely wild. How is she supposed to swallow that? In her past life, she ate gourmet seafood every single day. How can she survive this? And look at those clothes. They probably cost $10 tops. Before, everything was designer, but those luxuries were all given to her by the villain. Without him, this is her new reality. At that last comment, the chat went dead silent. No one dared to argue with the truth. They all knew that in her past life, Chloe never once ate at the cafeteria. She either dined at fancy restaurants or had a private chef deliver her meals right to campus. Her wardrobe was updated weekly with high-end designer brands. Pampered like a princess, she got used to that luxurious life, and fast. So to suddenly be faced with a mushy cafeteria meal, of course, she couldn't stomach it. The cheap clothes probably made her skin itch, too. After hesitating for what felt like an eternity, Chloe put down her chopsticks. "Ethan," she asked, "can you do me a favor? Lend me $300,000. Ethan, who was chewing on some tofu, almost choked on the spot. He yelled, "What did you say? You want me to lend you $300,000? You eat my food, you drink my water. And you still haven't paid me back for that meal, that $1,280 meal from last month, and now this." Countless eyes immediately zeroed in on Chloe. The whole room was stunned. Her past life had completely destroyed her perception of money. Ethan's family was just as average as hers. How could a college kid get $300,000? He was furious, his friendly tone gone. "Do you realize my parents don't even make $100,000 a year?" he spat. "You use my meal card every day, complaining that the food isn't good enough, and now that you're broke, you're dreaming about premium meals." Chloe's face burned bright red with shame and anger. She couldn't hold it back. "I'm only in this situation because of you. I used to drink wine that cost tens of thousands a bottle. Every meal was $1,000. Everyone who saw me called me CEO Chloe with respect." Ethan looked at her like she'd just told the funniest joke in the world. Chloe, are you serious? You can't even pay your tuition. Now you're daydreaming about being a billionaire's wife. Are you insane? Laughter erupted from all around them. This was the harsh wake-up call, shattering Chloe's last luxurious dream. She'd been reborn for a month, chosen a completely different life. And this was the result. The chat exploded. What the heck? I came here for romance. Why are they arguing every single day? Someone replied, well, without money. How can you have a sweet romance? Frustrated, Chloe looked toward the door and suddenly spotted one of the girls who had just walked in. Her posture immediately straightened, her frown replaced by a confident, expectant smile. But the girl was busy admiring her new watch as she walked right past the table. The watch cost over $300,000, but he felt the dial's shine was lacking. He'd have to choose better next time. He lazily glanced at the cafeteria food, his face twisting in disgust. He called out, Violet, let's go eat off campus. Violet eagerly nodded, and he started walking. He strode right past Chloe without even a second glance. Her confident smile completely vanished. As he walked off, she abandoned Ethan entirely, chasing after him in a panic. She yelled, Sebastian, why are you? But her words died in her throat when she saw it. The Maybach was parked right outside, sitting obnoxiously in the middle of the path. Students just stared in awe, whispering about the beautiful car. Others complained about his rich kid arrogance. Chloe, however, just let out a relieved laugh. So you were trying to surprise me, but I don't like being this flashy. Don't do this. Next time, okay, the chat exploded. He remembered this. In his past life, the female lead drove this exact car. She drove it to find the male lead right before she died, but back then this car was a graduation gift. Why did he bring it out so early this time? Our female lead belongs to the male lead. She won't be swayed by some luxury car. Get ready for the ultimate face-slapping moment, but Chloe clearly adored this car in her past life. She had driven it all over the city, drawing countless envious stares. Instinctively, she reached for the door handle, but his driver, Uncle Victor, immediately scolded her. He called from the driver's seat. This car was gifted to Miss Violet by the young master. What do you think you're doing? Chloe's hand froze solid in midair. It was like she'd been electrocuted, the elegant aura she had lost over the past month. Briefly flashed back into her eyes. Uncle Victor, this car is clearly mine. Have you lost your memory? She demanded, her voice a mix of authority and rage. In the past life it was hers, but this life, he just sneered, quickly opening the door. He pulled Violet inside and slammed it shut. Chloe barely snatched her hand back. She avoided getting her fingers crushed by a hair. Then he rolled down the window. He looked her up and down. Chloe, you should really fix that habit of yours. You know, trying to claim other people's property. I bought this car for my girlfriend. What does it have to do with you? To Chloe, he was forever that arrogant rich kid. So of course his words were ruthless, dripping with disrespect. The joy that had just started to build inside her chest was completely shattered. She just stared at him, dumbfounded. Wasn't this supposed to be for me? I drove it. For 2 whole years, her voice was a whisper, but he heard every single word. Reincarnated for this long, and she was still dreaming about her past life. Pathetic. Her previous disgust for him had now become a total illusion, a reflection of the moon. On water she could never hope to grasp again. The chat was also stunned. What is happening? The villain really doesn't seem to love the female lead at all. She reincarnated for nothing. I thought we'd get sweet romance, but they've argued 15 times in half a month. We thought we'd see her slap the villain's face, but she's the one getting slapped. Wait, who said the rich villain wouldn't leave her alone? It looks like she's the one stalking him. He closed the chat. After all, he was the heir of the Sebastian family, born with a silver spoon. Why would he simp over some average girl if Chloe's biggest regret in her past life was not confessing to Ethan? Well, in this life, she could spend all her time making up for that regret. He told Victor to step on it, and they zoomed away from the campus. In the rearview mirror, he saw Ethan grab Chloe by the collar, screaming in her face. She just stood there, staring blankly into his car's exhaust, completely ignoring his rage. Looking away, he complained to his butler, Uncle Victor, about the car. Driving this onto campus is just way too flashy. The dean is definitely going to call him in. Victor quickly nodded. Yes, young master. From now on, I'll wait for you at the gates. By the way, since you lack a real girlfriend maybe, tonight you should finally consider that arranged marriage with the VU family. The one his father mentioned. Now sitting in a VIP lounge, he just stared blankly at Violet, the girl seated right across from him. On the way there, he had impatiently shot down the whole idea of an arranged marriage with a stranger. Uncle Victor had looked so confused. A stranger, young master, you and Miss Violet have been dating for some time now. When Victor said that, Violet just shrank back into her seat like a scared little bird. In their social circle, arranged marriages are basically just business deals. Love has nothing to do with it. It's about uniting two families for shared profit and to manage risk. His phone suddenly buzzed. It was a message from his dad. Good boy. Seeing you and the VU family's daughter getting along so well really puts my mind at ease. If you two get along, let's just get you engaged early. In that moment, he felt like the most clueless playboy on the planet. Violet, pale-faced, tried to explain. Sebastian, I swear. I only wore cheap clothes because I heard that you wanted to date a poor student, but I didn't even have to do anything. The second I saw you in the crowd, you shoved a black card into my hands and asked me out. She never expected happiness to be this easy. She admitted that she'd enrolled in the same college just to confess her secret feelings for him. She just didn't expect him to immediately try and become her sugar daddy. The whole process was weird, but hey, the result was a win, he sighed. So you're loaded and you just scammed me for a black card. She immediately waved her hands. No, not at all. I haven't spent a single penny from that card. When you gave it to me, you never even told me the PIN. How was I supposed to use it? He just stared at her. He hadn't told her the PIN, so from the very beginning, he'd been spending the Vu family heiress's money. He was the sugar baby, the absolute humiliation. He subtly used 2 fingers to take back his black card, wishing he could melt right into the sofa. He genuinely considered whether he should just offer her family an extra 3% profit to save his last shred of dignity. The chat was going wild again. She reincarnated just for things to change this much. I remember the arranged marriage from the past life, too. But didn't Sebastian turn it down, saying he already had a girlfriend? I thought the villain loved the female lead. I'm so confused. In this life, he clearly never liked her. Just then, a waitress pushed open the VIP room door carrying a tray of drinks, completely shattering the awkward silence. Their eyes met. The tray crashed to the floor, drinks spilled everywhere. First came shock, then pure rage. Sebastian, why are you in here alone with her? It was Chloe, wearing a tight waitress uniform, standing right in the doorway. So this was the part-time job the chat was talking about. Her face was practically green with fury. Her eyes darted between Violet and him before she stormed right over and grabbed his wrist. Why are you with her? He just shook her hand off. This is my fiancé. Who else should I be with? He reminds Viola the Sebastian and Vu families already know they are a couple. Everyone is thrilled, but K.H. Lo is stunned by the word fiancé. In the dim light, her face was a ghostly pale sheet after a long moment. She let out a dry, bitter laugh. Sebastian, I know you're only with her. To make me jealous, I reincarnated and I'm still stuck dealing with you. She looked away, utterly defeated. You win, you. Actually won, I'll be your girlfriend, but Sebastian just cuts her off. He never asked her anything. Why are you agreeing to an offer I never made? K.H. Lo squeezed her eyes shut, making a huge decision, then blurted it out. Do you know I was reincarnated? In my past life, you gave me a black card. And you made me your girlfriend. You gave my mom $1 million. You even gave me that Maybach. We were together for 6 whole years. You had a terrible temper, but I always put up with it, even though I missed Ethan. In my past life, this reincarnation made me realize my true feelings. I still love you. But K.H. Lowe probably didn't realize her voice carried a clear hint of nostalgia. Nostalgia for wealth, not love, and just then the chat popped up. Wow, what a profitable realization of true love. Rich boy, look at me. I'm not picky about gender. Another read, after living a miserable life. She suddenly remembers the perks of the rich villain from her past life. Wait. The villain was actually super rational, even though he loved her and helped her grow. He never foolishly married her or just handed over his core assets in this life. The second she confessed her love for someone else, he immediately dropped her. Just like that, and looking back, that last comment made everything click. So that was it. K.H. Lowe's biggest grudge from her past life wasn't so simple. It wasn't that he didn't marry her, it's that he didn't hand over the entire Sebastian family. Fortune to her on a silver platter. In her mind, he was supposed to be a loyal dog. Presenting his family's wealth with both hands, becoming the perfect submissive husband. Also, she could rule the house. Sebastian might play the fool, but he is not one. He wasn't stupid. A proper heiress from a matched family would never dare to scheme. Not for his assets, yet K.H. Lowe acted like his fortune was already in her pocket. When she couldn't get it, she hated him to her core, even he hadn't dared. To dream of stealing his own dad's money, the room's atmosphere grew heavy. Viola hesitantly stood up. Look, I know the golden standard for a female lead is having a terminally ill mom, a brother in school, and a broken family. But I didn't know the bar was raised to include having supernatural powers, too. She turned to Sebastian, looking pitiful. Sebastian, I don't have a tragic backstory. My parents are perfectly healthy. My brother is studying abroad normally. And I didn't reincarnate. I have no buffs. Do I still have a shot? At being the main character, absolutely. He earnestly held her hand. The job is yours, and with that, K.H. Lowe was dragged away by security. Before being thrown out, she screamed, Sebastian, the person you love most is me. You shouldn't be with anyone else. In our past life, we were really together. After that whole mess, Sebastian comfortably pulled Viola of the Vu family into his arms. Fiancé, she purred, I'll be relying on you to be my sugar daddy from now on. Their families threw them an engagement party. His own dad was there. His father handled the paperwork for his finance degree abroad. Right before he boarded, his dad patted his shoulder, putting on an emotional act for show. Now that you're engaged, no more messing around at some local college. Go abroad, study hard, and master finance. The Sebastian empire depends on you. Sebastian decided to test the waters. Dad, how about some startup capital? Just a small 100 million would do, but nope. He couldn't even dream of touching his father's money, let alone Chloe. On the day he left, his butler Percy wailed like a wounded wolf, a truly dramatic performance. Young master, what am I going to do without you? I planned to serve you and the young madam until you graduated. Sebastian just shoved a bank card into his hand. I paid off your tuition. There's living expenses in there too. Stop wearing ragged clothes. You make me look bad. Percy just sniffled. Young master, I really can't stand to see you go. I'll pay you back when I graduate. I'll miss you every day, Sebastian cut him off. Stop fake crying. Your laugh is hurting my ears, he said, boarding the plane. Meanwhile, the class chat started exploding with messages again. Chloe was going crazy trying to find Sebastian. She was hunting for her personal ATM, remembering his old phone number and desperately trying to call him. Sebastian just glanced at his own phone. He was going abroad, so of course he changed his number. Chloe stood anxiously outside his old dorm building. For days, she'd been drowning in a sea of debt. The hospital wouldn't delay her mother's bills any longer. Desperate, she finally decided to contact him to borrow money, assuming he'd use it as an opportunity to force her into a relationship. After all, in her past life, when he found out she couldn't afford tuition, he smirked and pulled out a black card. Chloe, I can cover your tuition and living expenses, but you have to be my girlfriend. Deal. If he made that demand now, she'd agree without a single moment of hesitation. But she waited for days and never saw him. Finally, Percy got annoyed and told her to give up. The young master got engaged to Miss Violet and flew out of the country the very next day. He's not coming back. The news hit Chloe like a physical blow. Engaged, studying abroad. In her past life, she never heard about an engagement. Studying abroad was just an empty rumor. They had spent 6 entire years together, maturing through college side by side. All she did was confess to Ethan on day one of this new life. How could things be so drastically different from before? Trembling, Chloe dialed the number she knew by heart. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. She stood there, frozen, disconnected. She checked the digits again, perfectly correct. A number burned into her mind for 6 years was now a dead end. As she stood there dazed, Ethan shoved her from behind. Chloe, pay up, that $12.80 you owe me from half a month ago. The childhood sweetheart standing before her was just petty and bitter. Completely lacking the gentle warmth she remembered from her past life, Chloe rubbed her temples, exhausted. If she felt any joy with Ethan on day one, a month of harsh reality had crushed it completely. The only person left in her heart now was Sebastian. She only had a little over $1,000 on her, wages from the bar. It wasn't even enough for her mom's medicine, just as she was about to say, "Give me a few more, you shameless leech." Another girl pointed, screaming right at her. "Pay my boyfriend back." K.H. Lowe's head was spinning. A fiancé and now this. Ethan had a girlfriend now. Her whole life was hitting fast forward, spinning wildly out of control. She looked at the girl and suddenly, a shocking realization hit her. It was the exact same girl Ethan had married in her past life. Since Ethan was too broke for dates, he had picked up a different part-time job. And that's where he met his future wife, a full 4 years ahead of schedule. K.H. Lowe's own reincarnation had ironically played matchmaker for the two of them. Utterly defeated, Chloe emptied her pockets, handing over her last few thousand. He just scoffed, threw an arm around his new girlfriend, and walked away. Her phone rang. It wasn't his number. K.H. Lowe answered with a heavy heart. Her mother's tired voice crackled through the phone. "Chloe, the hospital is demanding money again. You have to figure something out." A wave of pure annoyance crashed over her already breaking heart. This endless stream of problems since her rebirth just made her want to scream. She finally snapped, yelling back, "If there's no money, you figure it out. Other parents actually support their kids. Why do you just bleed me dry? Look at Sebastian's parents. They give him hundreds of thousands a month. What about you?" The line went dead silent, followed by muffled sobs. "My life is so miserable, raising such an ungrateful daughter. You haven't visited in a month. You haven't given me a single cent." K.H. Lowe hung up. She grabbed a shared bike and started pedaling furiously. She desperately tried to convince herself that Sebastian still loved her. He wouldn't just get engaged and leave without saying a single word. He was just punishing her for confessing to Ethan. That had to be it. All she had to do was find him, say something sweet, and everything would go back to normal. As long as she was his girlfriend, she'd never have to worry about money again. She knew the Sebastian family mansion by heart. She'd lived there for 2 years. In her past life, she knew every single blade of grass, but this time was different. This time, the security guards coldly blocked her path. Private residence, no trespassing. K.H. Lowe, confusing her past and present, started yelling out in a panic. "I'm Sebastian's girlfriend. I lived here for 2 years. Don't you remember me?" The guard just looked her up and down, a nasty sneer on his face. "Before you try to be a gold digger, at least do your basic homework. Our young master is engaged to Miss Violet, and they're both studying abroad." "What girlfriend? Engaged? Abroad?" The blood completely drained from K.H. Lowe's face. He really did just leave. He didn't love her anymore. Her phone rang again. Hands trembling, she answered, only to hear the ice-cold voice of a nurse. "Miss K.H. Lowe, your mother's medication has been cut off. You need to pay the balance." The years he spent studying abroad flew by in the blink of an eye. To him, Chloe was nothing more than a minor background character in his life. She made a little noise for a while, and then she just quietly vanished. But the group chat would occasionally update him on her tragic, downward spiral. The boy she pined for had dumped her, ending up with his past life wife early. Her mother passed away, unable to afford treatment, cursing her ungrateful daughter to the end. K.H. Lowe, the backstabbing daughter, was now completely alone. From a pampered socialite who wouldn't touch spring water, she became a manual laborer. Juggling 3 jobs, yet somehow still drowning in debt, in her sophomore year. She was forced to drop out of college, starting a long, agonizing life at the very bottom. While working herself to the bone, she never stopped trying to ask around for any news about Sebastian. But they were separated by half the globe. A round-trip ticket and half a year of living expenses was an impossible dream for a minimum-wage worker. 4 years later, on Sebastian's first day back, he looked at the familiar skyline when he got a call from Percy. "Boss, the university is organizing a class reunion. Are you coming?" Percy had changed completely from his skinny, sunburnt past. He was now calm and professional, managing one of Sebastian's subsidiary companies. The moment he saw him, Percy rushed over for a massive hug. "Boss, I haven't seen you in years. Do you know how much I missed you?" Why the frown? "Tell your loyal servant, I'll handle it." Sebastian just patted his shoulder. "We have operations abroad now. I need someone stationed there long term." Percy immediately lit up. What a coincidence. He just happened to be the perfect candidate. Sebastian then remembered Percy was an orphan, with no family holding him back. He was the perfect choice. With his biggest problem solved, he finally relaxed. He didn't know most of the people at this reunion anyway. Percy was his only real friend from that class. Just as the reunion was getting started, the door swung open, and Chloe walked in. She was in the same major, but a different class. Her sudden arrival took everyone by surprise. All eyes locked onto her. Sebastian almost didn't recognize her. Her current physical age was close to what it was when she died in her past life. The chat had mentioned she never worked a day in her previous life, always maintaining a refined, aristocratic elegance. It was almost impossible to connect that image to the completely weathered and exhausted woman who stood before him now. The chat, which had been silent for ages, lit up one final time. Holy crap, I almost didn't recognize her. This isn't even female lead material anymore. She's not even a side character, just some random extra. You can tell she's genuinely dirt poor. For 6 years straight, failed every clumsy business venture she tried, and still kept bragging about being CEO Chloe. No wonder the woman is broke, and she's still super picky about food and clothes. Always muttering about how she used to eat premium seafood. I can't even imagine how miserable her life is, probably living in a 200-foot shoebox, eating plain rice. Just staring out the window at the city lights and crying, right. K.H. Lowe had clearly tried to dress up. But the deep wrinkle between her brows gave away her constant anxiety. Her cheap clothes just lacked the vibrant energy of the designer brands she wore in her past life. Her neck and her wrists were bare, no sparkling jewelry in sight. She could barely even look at Sebastian, but she mustered all her courage to walk over, speaking softly. "Sebastian, I heard your class was having a reunion. I just wanted to come and see you. Have you been doing okay these past few years?" Since the room was full of strangers, he stood up, politely excused himself from the group, and walked straight past Chloe and out the door, refusing to give her an inch. She chased right after him. It was pouring rain outside the hotel. He stood by the curb under an umbrella. While K.H. Lowe stood in the pouring rain, she stood soaked to the bone, nervously biting her lip. She finally spoke, clinging to the tiniest shred of hope she had left. "Sebastian, do you still love me?" she asked. He simply turned his head. A polite but distant smile. "Miss Chloe, we don't really know each other. So where would this love you're talking about possibly even come from? In this lifetime, you never took my black card. We had absolutely no Interactions, from beginning to end, were complete strangers. As he spoke with that final, clear answer, lines of text appeared in the air. They faded fast, a sign the system was shutting down forever. And honestly, the rich villain was never a complete fool, even in his past life. He wasn't dumb enough to just hand over all of his core assets. You have to wonder if he knew just how miserable Chloe's life is now. Good thing he never let her marry into his family. She's living her real fate. The holographic text vanished completely, and Chloe's absolute despair. It was plain to see. She clutched her head, overcome with pure agony. It was my fault the moment I reincarnated, even before you spoke to me. I'm the one who severed our connection. Sebastian, I called you my love. For 6 whole years, how did it end up like this? How did I lose the most important person in my life? Sebastian, did you know? I always wanted to go abroad to find you, but for years I worked myself to death and still couldn't save enough for a plane ticket. In my past life, that was just the price of a single bottle of wine. Why? Water streamed down her face. Was it rain or was it tears? He knew her life as a laborer had been absolutely brutal. Her face was already weathered, showing the marks of someone completely beaten down by reality. Then, headlights. A Maybach pulled up beside him. The door opened and out stepped Violet. She held an umbrella, looking as radiant and bright as she always did. She glanced at the girl behind him and gasped with fake surprise. Sebastian, isn't that the reincarnated girl? Is she going for the dramatic crying in the rain trope? Violet dramatically lowered her eyes, putting on a pitiful show. Sebastian, I might not have a broken family or magic powers, but I know how to play the victim too. Let me act out a little scene for you. He smiled, pulling her into his arms. Let's just go home, fiancé. The rain poured. The Maybach glided away. Chloe was left frozen in the downpour, eventually disappearing at the end of the rain-slick street. This lifetime had finally reached its proper conclusion. The black card he offered that day ended up becoming the string of fate tying him and Violet together. He chuckled, rubbing Violet's head. You don't need to play that part. The leading role, it's been yours from the very beginning. Epilogue. Chloe's perspective. She learned about Sebastian's wedding from an article, a trending post online, while she was huddled in a tiny rented attic room. Empty takeout boxes and cheap soda bottles were piled high all around her. Food she wouldn't have even glanced at in her past life was now her daily meal. It was just enough to survive. Then Sebastian's brilliant smile flashed across her cracked phone screen. He still had that arrogant, commanding air. The Sebastian family heir. Every single movement radiated pure aristocratic grace and unshakable confidence. The headline screamed it. He was marrying Aries from the VU family, just as their second massive collaborative project was hitting the stock market. She just stared at Sebastian's smile until she felt completely numb. The class divide between them was a canyon. A watch he bought on a whim cost more than she could save from working manual labor for 10 years straight. On the streets of this city, their paths crossing again was a 0% chance. The worst part. The only way she got news about him was from the public financial pages. During all the years since her reincarnation, it's not like she hadn't tried starting a business again. She found the same executives she'd worked with so successfully in her past life. Every last one of them shut her down cold. Just one man, after she swore she could make him millions, just smiled knowingly and gave her a card. Miss Chloe, anyone can make money with this idea. Even a blind man can see your business plan is totally amateur. The only reason it worked before was because a massive corporation was backing you. In that one moment, it hit her, a brutal awakening. Her success in her past life wasn't because she was a genius. It was because she had the Sebastian family protecting her. It was Sebastian paving the road for her from behind the scenes, forcing everyone to treat her with respect. And what did she do back then? Acted like a porcupine, all sharp spikes hiding a crippling inferiority complex. All those years. She really thought she was putting up with his arrogant temper, but he was carefully tiptoeing around her, protecting her incredibly fragile ego. She stared at the news of his wedding one last time. A crazy idea ignited in her mind: crash his wedding. The very thought made her blood boil. Maybe, just maybe, he would remember her. Maybe he'd suddenly realize that he loved her. Maybe they could return to the deep love they shared in their past life. Her car sped down the highway. A beat-up old thing she bought for $3,000 by starving herself for a year. It was nothing like the Maybach she drove in her past life. That image flashed in her mind, and her heart suddenly seized. Why did this feel so terrifyingly familiar? In her past life, she was on the balcony of the Sebastian mansion when she saw in a group chat that Ethan was getting married. She went insane, running on pure, raw impulse. She slammed her foot on the Maybach's gas pedal. One thought consumed her: stop Ethan's wedding. She instinctively glanced down at the dashboard. March 18th, the day Ethan got married in her past life, was the exact same day Sebastian was marrying someone else in this one. In that split second, her blood ran ice cold. A moment's distraction was all it took. The car veered off the road, smashing violently into the guardrail. Just before she lost consciousness, a satisfied smile crept across her face. If I get to go back to being 18 again, the very first second I open my eyes, I will take that black card. I'll hold on to him so tightly. And when he asks me to be his girlfriend, I will scream it from the rooftops. Sebastian, I do. She woke up again. First, a blinding white ceiling, and then the overpowering smell of antiseptic. She sat up frantically. No, Sebastian, no. On the college campus, she grabs a passing doctor's coat and screams. She's hysterical, asking if she reincarnated, demanding to know the year. He gives her a complicated look before turning to the nurse behind him. Take her for another CT scan. The impact must have caused a hematoma. It's compressing her nerves, he thinks, causing these cognitive delusions. In the reflection of stainless steel, she sees her own face, still young. But it's a face ravaged by exhaustion and poverty, just a penniless, broken. Chloe, despair washes over her as she picks up her shattered phone. Sebastian's wedding is a media storm taking over the entire internet. People are buzzing about the wedding of the century, where every single detail simply screamed unlimited budget, but what people admired even more was that in this billionaire alliance, there was actual true love. While studying abroad, Sebastian flew to Europe twice a month just for his fiancée. A massive stack of plane tickets was posted online as proof. The ultimate proof of their romance. She numbly drops the phone. Sebastian is married to Violet, the exact same girl from her past life. She's the only one left behind, stuck in the same place, completely lost. On the day she's discharged, she runs into Sebastian at the hospital. He wore an incredibly expensive suit, supporting Violet by the arm, his hand protectively shielding her slightly swelling belly from the crowd. In the crowded hospital, he was so handsome that he practically glowed. On her crutches, she desperately chases after him, screaming his name. She holds her breath, waiting for a reaction. His eyes land on her. For a single second, confusion flashes across his face as if trying to remember her, but then he simply turns away. He didn't recognize her. The 6 years of passionate love they shared, the 6 years she had relied on him to survive in high society, she is now the only one left who remembers any of it, and this is where it truly ends.